Alright guys, real quick before this episode of the podcast starts, I wanted to let you know, yes, you'll be hearing some handling noise from the mic, because I was having to hold it once again, but, what can you do? Gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, you guys will hear some handling noise, and things like that, but, oh well. So, the episode you're about to see is my little Halloween special, sort of, episode, which isn't as long as I intended this one specifically to be. I had intended this episode specifically to be a bit longer, but it didn't happen. But oh well. I do want to start making some longer episodes though. So yeah. But with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode.
And also, happy Halloween, you motherfuckers. Enjoy the episode.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Anything and Everything podcast. So, Halloween is next week, which is why I'm doing this weird intro. I'm trying to make it creepy. Okay, it's not creepy. I'll stop. I'm sorry. So, yes, this is episode 20. 2020, yeah? You fucking suck. Okay, never mind. But yeah, it's episode 20. My hair looks like a beaver's nest right now, but that's unintentional. It looks like that all the time. So in honor of Halloween, I thought I would talk about, or at least for the first part of the podcast, talk a bit about horror films, and I'd tell you about some of the weird shit I was for Halloween. So we'll start off with Halloween films, or horror films in general, because by the time I upload next week's episode, it'll be November, so I didn't want to wait that long. I figured it would be unfitting, so I'm going to do my Halloween episode today. So, first thing, if any of you are Charter users, if anybody out there still has cable, like my parents, and you have Charter specifically, there's a movie channel. I forgot what number it is because there's fuck tons of numbers. I can't fucking remember that shit. But it's called, I believe, HD Movie Net or something like that. I don't know why, because it's cable, and apparently they're doing like every day they're doing 2 horror movies a day until Halloween or something like that. And one of the films they had on the other day was the original, as in the 1970s, original version of Last House on the Left, which I'm surprised they managed to get on cable television. If you're a horror movie fan like me, and you've looked up anything about old horror films, or have seen older horror films, you might know that the original Last House on the Left, back when it came out in 1972, was so controversial that it was banned in a fuck ton of countries. That was back when if your movie was too violent, or too grotesque, or too fucked up, they could charge you with possession of obscene material. Just like if they caught you with a porno mag, that's what they could charge you with. If they thought your film was too fucked up, or they caught you with a porno mag, you could be charged with possession of obscene material. Actually, I think that might have gone out of enforcement sometime in the 70s. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I don't know. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's basically what they could charge you with back then when that movie came out. But they did not. I don't think they ended up banning the film. I don't think anywhere actually ended up banning the film. But they did, censor the ever-loving fuck out of it. Oh, it was censored a lot. There was like a fuck ton of footage cut out of the whole thing, and like between 3 to 10 minutes or some shit like that. So don't ask me how even the normal version managed to get onto a cable television network, even though the original Last House on the Left is so low budget and so cheesy and so over the top that it's not really scary at all, nor is it particularly shocking, except for maybe the rape scenes. Those are probably the still shocking portions, which is why I would not recommend watching those films if that's not something you like to see.
And I would hope it isn't.
So but even with that, I still don't know how they managed to get the film on cable fucking television, unless they cut more shit out of it. I don't know. Or hell, maybe they don't care anymore. It's 2017. Maybe nobody gives a shit anymore what you make. As far as I know, you could pretty much make any horror film as long as it's not an actual snuff film. I thought the remake of Last House on the Left was more disturbing. It seemed far more realistic than the 70s version. It actually was disturbing. Mostly the rape scene, which even they toned that down for this version, I think, which is what made it more realistic and more disturbing, which is why I've never actually watched the rape scene from Last House on the Left. I don't care to watch that particular scene. Bit too disturbing for my taste. I thought the remake was just better in general. The acting was better, in my view. AMC also has their annual Halloween movie thing. And, what was it, last night, they had the movie The Blob, the 50s version. This was the version they made back in 1958. So you obviously know how old that is. It's older than probably everybody that's watching this podcast right now. I'll just like making fun of them because they were obviously very low budget and they didn't have a lot of special effects back then. So yeah. So if you've ever seen the 1958 version of The Blob, I was making fun of the effects last night, like the special effects, because the 50s didn't have any special effects and they were very cheap. And me and my mom were talking about what they probably used as the blob. Me and my mom came up with the idea that it was strawberry jelly. I think that they used strawberry jelly as the blob in the original. That would make sense. I don't know, though. It could have been corn syrup. Of course, this was a colorized version of the film. It was like a colorized version, so they may have even used chocolate syrup. I don't know. That was the standard thing for blood back then, which was before they had whatever the stuff fake blood's made out of. That's before they had stage blood. They used chocolate syrup. Or they would use, like, pig's blood or cow's blood or something. They'd use animal blood if they wanted to make it super realistic, which they couldn't do because then they charge you with obscene material. It was cheesy, stupid, but hilarious at the same time. War of the Worlds is another film. That's another old film that I've seen. As a matter of fact, I actually believe I saw the original War of the Worlds back in, oh God, what was it? Middle school, I think? Elementary school? Middle school? Middle school. I think it was middle school. Why would they show War of the Worlds to a bunch of elementary school kids? I think it was middle school. I could be wrong, though. But we watched it for something, I don't know, 13 or 12 or some shit like that, so I didn't really think much of anything. I thought it was interesting for how old it was. And apparently, the budget was like astronomical for back then, I think. Special effects, even for 1954, were not bad, which is probably why I think it got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Special Effects in 1954. There's not a lot of, like, 50s era films and such that I've seen, except for War of the Worlds and The Blob. Other than that, I don't think there's, or at least super old horror films. Not really my thing. 2001: A Space Odyssey, I've seen. That's an old film I've seen. And that's a good film. It even holds up now, in my view. Because of course, back then they didn't have CGI. This was 1968, so they didn't have CGI back then. So even those miniature models they used look better than a lot of CGI. Okay, so I just turned the microphone because I didn't want you guys to be blinded by the light of this microphone. I'm going handheld, so this is not a good mic for handling noise reduction. There's a lot of handling noise. Halloween, the original Halloween I've seen. That's a classic. Although Rob Zombie's Halloween wasn't the worst remake I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Rob Zombie also remade Halloween 2, and that was just a complete another piece of cinematic bullshit. It sucked. The ending sucked. But then again, I read in an interview after that film came out that Rob Zombie said himself he didn't want to do any more Halloween films after his first remake. They pretty much made him do the second Halloween remake. And that's when he stopped. I don't think he's had a successful film since then. Or as a successful film as then. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties. As I went back to save the audio file for the first part of the podcast here, I realized there's a metric fuck ton of noise in general, like background noise and things like that. And there's this stupid hiss, which is weird because I thought this was a dynamic microphone and it was supposed to keep shit like that from coming through. But I don't know. I don't fucking know anymore. So, what I'll try to do is remove as much noise as possible, but I don't know how well that's going to go. I'll try and remove as much of the background noise from the first portion of this podcast as I can. But yes. So hopefully there shouldn't be as much noise in this portion. So yeah. So, yes. Moving on from Halloween films or horror films in general, we're going to be talking about a little trip down memory lane, if you will. And I figured I'd talk about some of the costumes that I wore back when I used to go trick-or-treating, back when I was a small child. I'm trying to remember as far back as possible what my earliest costume was, what my earliest Halloween costume was. And I believe it was the earliest I can remember. I remember at some point I went trick-or-treating as a pumpkin. Yes. My fat ass as a pumpkin. Even though I already have the body shape of a pumpkin. So I went as a pumpkin once for Halloween. Even though I already look like a fucking pumpkin. No, not really. And to be honest, it was I don't know, I guess what you'd call a decent Halloween costume. Or as decent as you can make a pumpkin-themed Halloween costume. Which was really basically me in a pair of big green long underwear and two little foam things for pumpkin. There was one big foam thing I had around my chest and things here that was the face of the pumpkin. And then there was a giant foam thing that I had for the back of the pumpkin. I don't know. I feel as though it looked like a 7 or 8 year old trying to masquerade as a pumpkin. I don't know. It looked like a human pumpkin. And that was when I was roughly 7 or 8, 9, 8. I think. I can't remember. But I take that back. I think the earliest thing I can remember is I think I might have been a mummy for Halloween once when I was 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7. I don't know. My memory is not that good. Get off my fucking case. One of those years. So I know I was a mummy for Halloween once, a pumpkin, and oh no, I take that back even further. I can remember even further, and this was all like 2004, 2003, 2002. But I remember actually one further back. I think the first Halloween I can remember, I think I was a lion for Halloween once when I was 5. I think I might have some pictures somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't know how many pictures of each of these costumes I have. If I have any pictures and if I can find some, I'll insert them here into the video somewhere. If I have enough pictures I can use. I don't know. I may not be able to find that many. We'll see. But yes, so I was in this order. A lion, a mummy, a pumpkin, and for the very last Halloween that I ever went trick-or-treating on, when I was, I think I might have been 11, 10, 11, which is actually quite early, but I don't know. As we all know, I'm a weird motherfucking dude. Okay? I don't know. I was either 10 or 11, I can't remember. And I went, and the last Halloween costume I ever did was a ninja. And that was the first store-bought costume I ever wore. Before that, all the Halloween costumes I'd ever gone as, my mom liked to make them. Back in the day, she was quite good at sewing. Quite good at making costumes and things, to be completely honest. Those were better homemade costumes than probably a lot of the other kids in my city, I can imagine. So the city I grew up in at that point was a city called Pleasant Grove, Alabama. And the Pleasant portion was correct. It actually was a quite nice little town. Quite nice little city / town, whatever you want to call it. It was quite pleasant. Actually, it was really good. I liked it. We only had about 9,000 to 10,000 people. Matter of fact, I think they still have 10,000 people. So it wasn't very big. It wasn't very big. And I think it was one of the safest suburbs of Birmingham in that area. Matter of fact, I think it might have been the only safe suburb around that area. Other than Hueytown, which, as I've said in multiple episodes, Hueytown has already gone downhill, and I think Pleasant Grove might be going downhill too. I don't know. It was a nice place to go trick-or-treating back then. Circa 2000, 2001, 2002, up until, yeah. So it was a nice place to go trick-or-treating in the early 2000s. Yep, but I went as a ninja for my last year of Halloween, or the last that I can remember. And I haven't gone trick-or-treating since. I don't know. I guess I just got bored with the whole thing. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm weird, okay? Get over it. So yes. And every Halloween since then, I've just pretty much stayed at home and watched horror films like the horribly massive introvert that I am. But, oh well. Except for one Halloween like 2 or 3 years ago, where I went to a friend's birthday party because she has a birthday on Halloween, which is awesome because that means more sugary stuff. Other than that, I haven't done a goddamn thing for Halloween since. And I probably won't do anything this Halloween. I quite literally probably won't be doing a single fucking thing. I don't know, maybe I didn't do a damn thing for Halloween last year. I literally sat inside my dorm room at college and watched a horror film. Although it was a good horror film. Called Hush. It was done by the same guy who did the movie Oculus, which I haven't seen, but Hush is a newer film. Done by the same guy who did Oculus, so wasn't a bad film. And they also filmed it here in Alabama. They filmed the movie in down in southern Alabama in a place called Fairhope, which is some of you might know if they sell it in other states. There's a beer called Fairhope. Fairhope IPA. It's a beer. It's made in that same Fairhope. Fairhope, Alabama. Home of Fairhope IPA beer. The fuck? What the fuck? Okay, something just hit the back of my fucking head and I'm scared. Okay, never mind. It was a plant. It was the plant you see behind me. That's what I just brushed my neck up against. I leaned back and brushed my neck up against the plant behind me, and I thought there was a bug on my neck. I was about 3 or 4 seconds from wilding. I am so very sorry you all had to hear that. I don't know. I was trying to be funny, and it just ended up being a very, very, very cringy joke. I'm very sorry. Does anyone remember that fucking song? It's actually not that bad of a song, minus Kanye West, which I don't see why he was even there. I have no idea why in the world they got Kanye West to be on that song. Kanye West there was really no point in having Kanye West on that song. If they had taken out Kanye West from that song would have been even better. So yes, those were all my Halloween costumes that I can actually think of. For my next topic for my Halloween episode, we gonna talk about candy. Everybody's favorite sugary, coma-inducing food item, candy. So I think my favorite candy by far is probably Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, because I like anything chocolate and peanut butter related. So Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, I think, are my favorite candy, period. Which I haven't had those in like at least a year or so. Matter of fact, I don't think I've had an actual candy bar in several months, because I try not to eat too much actual candy, because that's part of me trying to lose weight bullshit. I've tried not to eat too much candy and or actual sugar, even though Sweet and Low and Splenda probably even worse for you. I try not to eat too much actual sugar. It's not good for you. Well, obviously you need sugar in your system. Otherwise, low blood sugar. But I try not to eat like a surplus of sugar. It's just my thing. So I haven't actually eaten a candy bar in quite a while. So one of the neighborhoods I have to drive through to get to my college is like this higher income area. It's a decently upscale area, I guess you could say. And one of the neighborhoods we have to drive through is apparently a very high income area, or a decently high income area. But me and my mom were joking that these people must give out the good damn candy. I told her maybe we should go up and knock on the door and ask if they have any Ferrero Rocher candies, because those are actually good. I actually bought a pack and tried it once, and they're pretty good for adult candy, I guess you could say. I don't know. I figured I'd touch on just some of the like generic like Halloween topics, because that's all I could think of for a Halloween episode. That really made sense. So, if you guys like this episode, you guys on SoundCloud can comment on the track, like the track, obviously listen to the track, because that's how we'll be able to keep making more of these. And you guys on YouTube can thumbs up the video, thumbs down the video, comment on the video, whatever you'd like. I don't really care. I'm open to everything. And I'll see you guys in next week's episode. All right, guys. See ya.
Happy Halloween.